You think you're free? Think again. Because every time you swipe, click, scroll, you're being trained. Not entertained, not informed. Trained to obey your impulses. If that scares you, good. It should. Because right now, there's a war for your mind. And the enemy isn't outside. It's inside. It's your desire. Not the deep, noble kind. The one that builds. But the hijacked one. Engineered to distract, to addict, to destroy. And if you've ever felt like something's stealing your focus, if you've looked at your own life and thought, I used to be sharper, I used to care, what happened to me? Then you're already caught in it. But this video, this is your wake-up call. You're about to discover how your mind was reprogrammed without your permission. And more importantly, how to take it back. Because behind all the noise and stimulation, there's a quieter force waiting for you to remember. You were never meant to be a slave. I know, because I lived it. I chased every dopamine high, scrolled through silence, escaped every moment of discomfort, until the emptiness screamed louder than the pleasure. And in that moment, I had to choose. Be consumed or reclaim. If you've ever felt the same, if you're ready to stop being the product and start being the creator, then comment 1 below, because this isn't just another video, this is the first step back to you. You wake up thinking you're in control, but before your feet hit the ground, you've already lost. Your hand grabs your phone, not by choice, but by programming. You check messages, you open apps, you scroll, and just like that, you've handed over the steering wheel of your life to a machine. You don't even notice it anymore, but you're not deciding, you're reacting. And the master behind the curtain? Desire, not desire for purpose, for growth, for truth, but the shallow, fast, hollow kind. The kind that needs a new hit every 30 seconds. The kind that doesn't feed your soul, only drains it. Let's get brutally honest. You've been trained to crave trash. Your brain, wired for quick hits. Your mind, saturated in sexual imagery. Your focus, fragmented. And the scariest part, you think it's normal, but it's not. It's war, and you're losing, quietly. Every time you get that itch to just check something, that's not you. That's a loop, a circuit installed without your permission. Your mind was never designed for this level of overstimulation. It was made for depth, stillness, creation, but now it's addicted to scrolling, to images that promise everything and give you nothing. And while you're trapped in that loop, guess what you're not doing? Building, leading, becoming. You're not living. You're existing under someone else's spell. This is the hidden force, not physical, not visible, but powerful enough to paralyze your potential. And here's the truth no one dares to tell you. You weren't weak. You were targeted, engineered to be distracted, rewarded for obedience, shamed when you resist. And if you keep living like this, one day you'll look back and realize you were never present. You were never awake. You were never truly alive. But if you've heard even a whisper of truth in these words, then it means something inside you is still awake, still fighting, still you. And that's enough to begin, enough to take one breath of awareness and say, no more. No more passive consumption, no more dopamine slavery, no more living by impulse, because the moment you see the game, you can choose to stop playing it. So, are you ready to take back your mind? Let's pull back the curtain. This isn't random. What you crave, what you click, what you watch at 2 a.m. when you say, just one more, it was engineered. You think algorithms are neutral? You think your feed is just what you like? No, it's what they want you to keep liking, because attention is money, and your weakness is their profit. They studied your brain. They mapped your instincts. They know what makes your pupils dilate. They know what kind of movement, what kind of image, what kind of body will hijack your brain in milliseconds. They didn't design the internet to inform you. They designed it to own you. And their favorite weapon? Sexual suggestion, subtle, constant, relentless. You don't even notice it anymore. But it's everywhere. In ads, in thumbnails, in jokes, in harmless reels. It's coded into the architecture of the digital world, not because it brings you real pleasure, but because it lights up the dopamine center in your brain like fireworks in the dark. And once it's lit, you chase, you don't choose, you react. Over and over, click, scroll, watch, repeat. And while you chase that next flash of pleasure, you're bleeding time, you're bleeding focus, you're bleeding life. But no one tells you that. They just keep feeding you more triggers, more stimulation, more noise. And here's the cruel twist. The more you consume, the less you feel, the less alive you become. Real conversations, boring, deep work, too slow, silence unbearable. They've rewired your brain to crave nothing but the next notification, the next face, the next fantasy. And while you're stuck in that loop, you're becoming smaller, weaker, more predictable, exactly as planned. But here's the truth. You were never meant to be a data point. You were never meant to be a puppet for profit. You were built to create, to focus, to choose. So if you're done being the target, it's time to become the threat. Start by noticing the patterns. Start by questioning the triggers. Start by watching the watchers. Because the moment you understand the algorithm, you become the one it can't control. You weren't always like this. There was a time when your mind was sharper, your decisions firmer, your presence undeniable. But now, you hesitate, you scroll, you vanish behind a screen, and slowly, without noticing, you stopped leading. Let's speak plainly. Your masculinity, your strength, your edge, your fire has been hijacked, not by weakness, by distraction. And while you're chasing pixels, other men are building empires. While you're fantasizing, others are forging legacies. You think you're just tired, just not motivated. No, you're drained, not from doing too much, but from being stimulated too often by things that give you nothing back. Every time you click on another provocative video, you give away a drop of your focus, your drive, your dominance. They told you it's harmless. They told you it's normal. But look around. Are you where you want to be? Do you even recognize the man in the mirror? Because here's the truth. A man who can't control his desire will never control his destiny. Masculinity isn't just muscles or deep voices, it's presence, it's clarity. It's the ability to sit in stillness and not reach for stimulation. But you've been robbed. And worse, you've been trained to like it. You used to walk into a room with conviction. Now you flinch at a notification. You used to plan. Now you react. You used to feel alive. Now you just feel busy. But here's what they forgot. Masculinity, when awakened, is unstoppable. It doesn't need permission. It doesn't seek approval. It doesn't chase. It builds. And when a man reclaims his focus, his presence, his fire, he becomes the kind of threat no system can manipulate. So look at yourself, not with shame, but with ruthless honesty. Ask, when did I trade purpose for pleasure? When did I let noise drown out my voice? Because once you ask the real questions, the mask starts to fall, and the man begins to rise. You've blamed yourself long enough, told yourself you're weak, undisciplined, broken, but you're not. You don't need more willpower. You need clarity, because what you're fighting isn't a habit. It's an entire system. You were taught to think that if you fail to resist, it's your fault. That if you gave in, you must not be strong enough, that real men just man up and push through. But no one told you the truth. You weren't born into a fair fight. You were born into a trap. From the moment you touched a screen, your brain was being rewired, not just for convenience, but for compliance. They taught you to equate pleasure with clicking, taught you that freedom looks like choice, when in fact, those choices were carefully placed landmines. A suggestion here, a notification there, a stream of content so tailored to your triggers, you started thinking it was you, but it's not. It's programming. You don't lack will. You've just never been shown how to protect it, because in a world where everything is designed to steal your focus, discipline alone isn't enough. You need strategy, you need space, you need to rewire the battlefield, not just fight harder in it. Think about it. When was the last time you failed to focus because you were truly tired, or because you opened one tab too many? How many quick breaks became lost hours? How many just 5 minutes turned into forgotten purpose? That's not weakness. That's design. But here's the shift. If your mind can be trained into distraction, it can be retrained for direction. That's the truth they never taught you. You don't overcome temptation by wrestling it forever. You rise above it by starving its triggers. You don't need to be stronger than your desire. You need to become clearer than your confusion, because once you see how it works, you stop blaming yourself and you start rebuilding with intention. So the next time you fall back into the loop, don't ask, "What's wrong with me?" Ask instead, "What was the trap I didn't see?" Let's get real. You're addicted, not to drugs, not to alcohol, to dopamine. Tiny bursts of feel-good chemicals that flood your brain every time you check, click, scroll, and it's killing you. Not in some dramatic movie-ending kind of way, but in slow, quiet, soul-erasing doses. Every time you reach for stimulation, you train your brain to expect more for less. Less effort, less depth, less meaning. Until one day, even real joy feels dull. Even victory feels empty. Even love feels heavy. That's what dopamine addiction does. It robs you of your sensitivity. It numbs your soul with noise. And the scariest part? You don't even know it's happening. You wake up foggy. You feel tired for no reason. You can't sit still, can't think deep, can't focus. And you call it burnout, or boredom, or just modern life. But it's not. It's withdrawal. Because your brain right now is wired for chaos. So when you try to sit in silence, it panics. When you try to focus on something real, it rebels, because it's been fed a diet of sugar-speed content for years. And now it craves the crash more than it craves peace. But here's the part most people never reach. You can detox. You can endure the discomfort. You can reset your nervous system. But it won't feel good. Not at first. You'll feel restless, irritable, anxious, empty. And that's when most people run back to the feed. But if you can sit in that discomfort, if you can face it without fleeing, you'll find something waiting on the other side. Clarity, stillness, strength. Because detoxing the mind is not about punishment. It's about returning to who you were before you were hijacked. Before every spare second was filled with noise. Before you forgot how to be bored, without breaking. The goal isn't to hate dopamine. It's to reclaim it, to use it for creation, not consumption, for discipline, not distraction, for life, not loops. So here's your challenge. Try 24 hours without feeding the loop. No reels, no porn, no endless scroll, just silence, breath, awareness. It will feel like dying, but it's not. It's rewiring, and when it's done, you'll remember how to feel alive again. Imagine your mind as a garden. Everything you see, hear, watch, read, it's a seed. Every click is a drop of water. Every scroll is sunlight or shadow. And what you feed grows. You've been planting weeds, not because you're evil, not because you're broken, but because no one ever told you how sacred your attention is. You let the wrong voices in, the wrong images, the wrong patterns. And now you wonder why your inner world feels overgrown, why you can't find peace, why focus feels like a fight. But what did you expect? You've been feeding distractions and then praying for clarity. You've been watering noise and hoping for fruit. It doesn't work that way. The mind, like soil, becomes what you allow to settle in it. And right now, most people are living in a junkyard and calling it a garden. They say, "I'm so anxious." But they follow chaos. They say, "I want to focus." But they consume randomness. They say, "I want peace." But they binge conflict. You can't plant poison and expect medicine. You can't sow lust and expect love. You can't surround your mind with triviality and expect depth. So what's the solution? Start choosing your seeds. Unfollow noise. Mute the unnecessary. Turn off the voices that feed your ego and ignore your soul. And begin again. Slowly, intentionally, sacredly. Replace cheap triggers with deep truths. Replace hyperstimulation with stillness. Replace digital junk with human wisdom. And yes, at first it'll feel boring, because your brain has been trained to need chaos. But in that boredom, space will appear. And in that space, focus, vision, power. Because when your inner garden is clean, purpose can take root, presence can blossom, and you can finally grow. So ask yourself, what am I planting today? And more importantly, what am I willing to stop watering? Desire isn't the enemy. It never was. It's not desire that ruins men. It's what we do with it. You were taught to suppress it, to fear it, to hide it. But suppression only makes it stronger, more chaotic, more dangerous. Here's the truth no one told you. Desire is energy, raw, pure, powerful. The same energy that drives addiction can also drive creation. The problem isn't that you feel desire. The problem is that you've been trained to spend it on shadows, on pixels, on pleasure without purpose. You've been conditioned to release your fire through empty habits. Instead of forging something real with it, you think sex is just physical. You think lust is just instinct. No, it's spirit, it's fuel, it's the most primal force you've been gifted. And when you learn to harness it, not repress it, not waste it, but channel it, you become dangerous in the best possible way. A man who reclaims his desire reclaims his direction, because now he doesn't move out of impulse. He moves with intention. He doesn't need a quick fix. He's building something deeper. Every time you feel that pull, that craving, that hunger, you have a choice. Let it leak through distraction, or let it burn into discipline. Let it scatter you into 1,000 wasted moments, or focus it into one clear, unshakable path. You're not here to suppress your fire. You're here to forge with it, to build, to lead, to rise. So stop asking, how do I kill this desire? Ask instead, how do I give it purpose? Because when you align your desire with your mission, you become unstoppable. And when temptation knocks, you don't just resist, you redirect. You don't run from it, you use it, not like an animal, but like a king. You want power? Start by sitting still. Not flashy, not exciting, not what you were trained to crave, but it's where the real work begins. Meditation isn't new, it's ancient, it's primal. It's the one practice that strips away the noise and shows you you. And that's why it's terrifying, because when you sit in silence, there's no distraction, no validation, no next thing. Just you, your thoughts, your cravings, your chaos. And for a man raised on stimulation, that silence feels like death. But it's not death, it's detox, it's dojo. Because this is where the real warriors train, not in noise, not in hustle, in stillness. Sit, breathe, watch, that's it. And yet, it's everything, because for the first time, you're not reacting, you're observing, you're choosing. At first, your mind will rebel. It will scream for motion, noise, novelty. It will throw desires at you like daggers. Check your phone. Open a tab. Escape. But if you stay, if you breathe through the storm, you'll meet someone you haven't seen in years, the observer. The one who doesn't chase, the one who doesn't fear discomfort, the one who sees a thought rise and lets it pass. That's not weakness, that's mastery. Meditation doesn't make you calm, it makes you conscious. It doesn't erase desire, it helps you recognize it and rule it. It's not about sitting like a monk for hours. Start with 5 minutes, in silence, every day. You'll notice it first in small ways. Less reactivity, more focus, deeper sleep, sharper words. And one day, when temptation slithers back in, you won't flinch. Not because it's gone, but because you've changed. You've trained in silence, and the man who conquers himself in silence needs no approval in noise. This is meditation, not a trick, not a hack, a weapon, a mirror, a path back to presence. At some point, the noise stops working. The scroll doesn't satisfy. The screen doesn't soothe. And in the silence that follows, a question rises. What am I even doing here? That question, it's not weakness, it's awakening. Because when a man loses his sense of purpose, he becomes a target, easy to distract, easy to manipulate, easy to own. But when a man finds his purpose, truly finds it, he becomes unshakable. Purpose is not a goal, not a job title, not a follower count. It's a fire, a North Star, a reason that outlasts the storm. And without it, you'll always be vulnerable to temptation, to boredom, to someone else's agenda. So ask yourself not, what do I want? Ask, what am I willing to suffer for? What truth would keep me standing when everything else falls apart? Maybe it's building something timeless. Maybe it's becoming a father your son respects. Maybe it's leaving the world more awake than you found it. Whatever it is, it must be real. It must be yours. And it must be visible. Write it down. Declare it. Look at it when your old patterns try to pull you back. Because purpose doesn't eliminate temptation. It just makes it irrelevant. When you know why you wake up, you don't need to be motivated. You move. When you're grounded in something greater than yourself, you don't need to fight distractions. You outgrow them. So stop living like a drifting boat, pushed by digital winds, chasing other people's dreams. Drop the anchor, find your why, and steer. Because the man who lives with purpose doesn't need to be reminded. He reminds the world of what matters. You were not born to obey. You were not built to scroll your life away. You were never meant to be just another user in someone else's system. You were born to create. But somewhere along the way, you forgot. You let the algorithms dictate your hunger. You let your desire become your leash. You let your mind become a marketplace, and your soul the price. But now you see it. You see how the game is played. You see how silence became unbearable. You see how you traded your fire for flickers of fake pleasure. And once you see, you can't unsee. That is your power. That is your beginning. From this moment, you are no longer a slave to impulse. You are the one who shapes desire, who chooses what to feed, who protects his focus like sacred ground. You are no longer passive, you are present, and presence is power. It's not about being perfect, it's about being awake, enough to say, no more, not today, not again. You walk forward now as a creator, not of content, but of self, of meaning, of impact. You don't ask for validation, you move in truth, you act from vision. You live like a man who knows who he is, and when the temptations return, because they always do, you'll look them in the eye and whisper, I remember who I am now. You've taken your mind back, you've taken your power back, and with it, your life.